I'm here to help. Okay, I want you to stay in that good mood now. We got a big one today. There's a four-letter word that no one likes to talk about or even say. It's a four-letter word that makes a lot of people just really, really, really uncomfortable. And you can guess what the word is. If you can't, then let's just take a look at this tape. In 2015, race has dominated the headlines. With the rise of social media, camera phones, and viral storytelling, we are bombarded with new examples of racism every day. The result has polarized us as a society. Many people are now uncomfortable discussing any aspect of race, regardless of how innocent, while some minorities who publicly demand respect are labeled as playing the race card. As an African American and a comedian, I know both sides firsthand. My career was built on openly talking about things that make us uncomfortable, including race.
Black people handle getting fired different from white folk.
But now even I am more careful than ever about what I say. The problem with comedy is you don't know you crossed the line till you go over that body line. I don't know why I said that, I'm sorry. Too far? Too much? So, is it time to ask the question, are we just too sensitive when it comes to race? Well, already I can see everybody done tightened up. But today on this stage, I'm declaring this a safe space. This is a safe space. Let's have this conversation for the next hour, and we're gonna talk about it openly without fear of any backlash. So we're gonna kick it off with a special Ask Steve. I'm gonna be tackling the race-based questions that you've been too uncomfortable to ask. So let's just get started. Dana has a question about language. Where's Dana?
Hey, Steve.
Hi.
First of all, thank you so much for the show. Thank you so much for the safe space, and I'm going to now trust you on that.
Okay.
My question is about race, and it's about labeling. We like to label. And when I meet someone who is of African descent, African American, I will refer to them as African American. Okay. But if it's a friend that I've known for a while, I will call him and I will refer to him as Black. So am I overly sensitive or am I appropriate?
To play it safe, I just go with African American for everybody. But then everybody that's Black is not African American. See, I like just being called Black. I never adapted to the African American term. I just like being referred to as Black. I'm comfortable, I like it, it fills me up with pride. But if you meet somebody from an island or something, they not African American.
Right, well, and my friends who are Black and are African American, I've had no problem, and we've had good discussion about it, open discussion. And that's the big part for me, is being able to be safe and talk to each other. Because if we don't do that, we're not getting anywhere,
That's
Steve.
the only way it's gonna work.
Exactly.
Now, so like if I don't know you, I would say, excuse me, sir, could you sit your African-American ass down? But then if I do know you, then I'm just gonna say, hey man, sit your Black ass down. It's very nice like that, real comfortable. All my producers went, oh my God, yeah. Told y'all.
Steve, should I sit my Black ass down?
Yes, you should.
Okay.
And that's what, now the Black dude talking about what? and you know what, that would help it out if you white and you talk to this people, you know what, hey, I'm just gonna shut my Black ass up. It would actually break down a lot of barriers. That's funny to me. Thank you, darling.
I got it.
Tiffany is curious about something she's noticed.
Okay.
Hi.
So I have never dated a Black guy myself, but I have several white girlfriends who have. And it seems like once they date a Black guy, they don't ever date a white guy, Hispanic guy. It's always a Black guy. So I guess, I think everyone knows where I'm going with this. We've all heard it. So I guess my question is, once you go black, you never go back. So what's your viewpoint on that?
You know why. See, that's the part I talk about. That's the stuff I do laugh at. Ain't no need of you being tight about that. You've heard that saying before any of us were born. Once you go black, you'll never go back. Now, you don't really know what they talking about. So let me phrase this for TV. A lot of us are born with a certain amount of swagger. And some of us have more swagger than others. And once you've been exposed to the swag, you have to have that. Huh? That's pretty good. Doris and her husband have some differences.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
I'm black and Filipino, and my husband is white. And he's the whitest white guy you'll ever meet. He keeps a baseball.
Congratulations.
He keeps a baseball.
Once you go white, it always feels right. Let's start a new slogan.
It is right, credit and all. He keeps the baseball cap in his back pocket.
He keeps the baseball cap?
Always,
Okay.
and he loves his country. He loves his Garth Brooks.
Oh.
He loves George Strait and Aretha McEntire. He's always trying to get me to listen to country music, but I can't. I can't get into it for two reasons. One, the lyrics are too slow, depressing. Always somebody died, dog died, mama died, dad died. And the beat, I can't twerk. I can't drop it down low and bring it back up. So my question to you is, why do white people love country music so much?
I don't know, because I love country music too. See, I like country music. I do. I like it because I like the words. I like the lyrics. They're lyrically correct songs. I like that about country music. You say it's too slow, but hell, sit your ass down somewhere. Learn yourself something, Hell, the stuff be true. All my exes live in Texas. And for me, that's true. Well, one of them do live in Texas. So that song meant to take me home to West Virginia, to a place that I belong. I'm from West Virginia. So bam, I love the music. I can't. See, so if you was married to me, you'd have the same damn problem. That ain't a bad problem to have. He treats you like a queen, don't he? Get your ass some George Strait and get on out there and learn how to two-step. I'll do all that. Hey, folks, we'll be right back. We got a good show today.
Coming up, an open and honest discussion on race relations all hour long.
Should Trump's words be considered hate speech? Would Ahmed have been arrested if he were have racial tensions risen with President Obama's leadership?
When you come across the border illegally, you are a criminal.
I don't want to call it hate speech, but I do think
This
it's
is
bigotry.
a child bringing in a science project. He's come to their defense, and that immediately divides our country.
Folks, all hour, we're going to be talking openly and honestly about race. It seems every day that there's another example of racism in the news, but are some of these stories overblown? What's the real takeaway behind the headlines? So I've assembled a diverse panel to weigh in on some of the latest trending headlines related to race. First, author and commentator Katie Kiefer. Then editor of the blog Conservative Black Chick is Crystal Wright. Next, from MTV's Guy Code and IFC's Bender, comedian Chris DeStefano.
Nailed it.
Got it all day,
Bang.
baby. That's the comedian thing, the special connection there. Then it's CNN's legal analyst, Sunny Hostin.
Thank you.
And finally, CNN contributor and former South Carolina State Representative, Bakari Sellers. Welcome to the show. A recent study shows more than half of all Americans believe that race relations have gotten worse under President Obama's leadership. It was white and Hispanic respondents who were more likely to say things have gotten worse. But what do you say? Have racial tensions risen with Obama, Crystal?
Yes, they have. I think it was a great day when President Obama got elected in 2008. I remember calling my mother. She was in tears because she grew up in the segregated South in Richmond. And she said, honey, I never thought that I would see this day. And my mother, started breaking down. At the same time, he kind of used his race as a novelty to get elected. But then when he got elected, he's like, oh, they hate me because I'm black. So I think you can't have it both ways. I would like the president, I think he has tried to forge a discussion on race, but I feel like there are a lot of people that can't participate in the discussion.
Katie.
With regard to this topic, on the issue of Trayvon Martin, he came out before we had any of the facts, and he took a side, and he said that Trayvon Martin could have been his son. Well, we found out shortly after through eyewitness accounts and expert testimonies that he was, Trayvon Martin had in fact mounted George Zimmerman in an MMA-style mount, was grounding and pounding and pummeling him, and actually had attempted to reach for Zimmerman's weapon before Zimmerman shot in self-defense. So I would say that he shouldn't have gone out and done that because he divided our country when he was the first biracial president to have the opportunity to bring us together.
Can I comment?
Are you next?
Can I please comment?
I'm glad this one skips me.
The only reason I'd like to comment.
I ain't gonna make it.
Yeah, but see,
I ain't gonna make it.
Let me just respond.
Yeah, but don't.
Let me just respond in the sense
that's
that
right.
everyone is entitled to their opinion. I will tell you that I was in the courtroom of the George Zimmerman trial every single day. And I can tell you that the reason that that is the narrative is because the person that gave that narrative is George Zimmerman. The other person is dead. So we don't really know what happened.
No,
The other thing that I'd like to say, the other thing that I think is important to mention is because as a reporter, I've been on the ground for CNN. I've been in Ferguson. I've been in Baltimore. I've been in Sanford. I've been in too many Sanfords. I've been in Charleston. This is not a made-up issue. The issues affecting people of color, African Americans in these communities
Who said it was
is
a made-up
real.
issue?
Racism is alive and well. It is real. And so for the president, of the United States, as the leader of our country, to get in front of this and talk about race was a pivotal moment for our country. We needed that leadership. And I might add that no one criticized John F. Kennedy when he talked about race at pivotal moments in our country. Yet people have taken President Obama to task for what I thought was an incredible sign of leadership.
Okay, Bakari.
Let me just take it in a different tact and just racism has not gotten worse under Barack Obama. And let me explain to you why that's the answer. February 8th, 1968, there were students at South Carolina State University who decided they were going to protest the All-Star Bowling Alley in Orangeburg, South Carolina. After they protested, South Carolina State troopers lined up along the embankment, and they fired into the group of students, and they killed 3, Henry Smith, Samuel Hammond, and Delano Middleton, and wounded another 28. One of those people wounded was my father. He also ended up going to prison. He served time on death row. He was in jail for 8 months just so he could have the opportunity and those around him could have the opportunity to bowl. That was real racism. George Wallace, that was real racism. That was real bigotry. We ain't there no more. Okay, and I understand that we've made progress, but we still have yet a ways to go. You have people who are able to go home now after they fight for their rights, whereas you're just a little bit older than me, Steve, but in your generation, you didn't have that opportunity. No. People were literally losing their lives every day. 4 girls in Birmingham. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
And it isn't too far in the, in the past. My father mentioned to me, you are the first generation in our family that has full civil rights. So to suggest somehow that racism just popped up and is getting worse because of President Obama, I don't think that's the case. I think the Band-Aid was.
But I think the question was, has racism getting worse? And I think it wasn't like saying that
my mother and father went through during the civil rights era, and Medgar Evers and Martin Luther King losing his life, and the girls in the church in Alabama, nobody's minimizing that. I think what Katie artfully said, that everybody wanted to marginalize her point of view, is that the president has come out many times when young black men are slain in circumstances where a trial and jury has not made up their mind. He's come to their defense, and that immediately divides our country.
Right.
He did not come to the defense of Kate Steinle. And just because you were at a trial, witnesses testified, Sonny, at the trial that you covered. You're a jury of George Zimmerman never testified, so you misrepresented that fact.
Right, but here's the problem. Let me say this. The people in politics, they made a concerted effort before he was ever inaugurated that they're going to shoot down everything he does. So the statement he made in the initial election where he wanted to reach across the aisle, there was no chance of that ever happening.
But I mean, I think this is just the problem. It's like right now, whenever we have a different opinion about Obama's policies, and immediately it becomes this divisive discussion that, oh, it's because he's black, it's because he's black. And you know what? That is not why. The president doesn't want to work with the opposing party. He says, oh, I'm going to just use executive order. Like, illegal immigrations need amnesty. I'm going to grant it.
Well, I think he has reached across the aisle many times only to get his hand slapped. I think it's happened like that.
Just to be brief, the president still has succeeded in spite of. And I think that's the most amazing thing. Our country was on the brink of, and now we're on the brink of moving forward.
Well,
and you're right. Mitch McConnell, the first thing Mitch McConnell said is that he ain't gonna pass nothing.
Right. You know what? Really, I think when it's all over with, I think when this presidency is done, history will mark this guy as really an incredible president of this country. Hey, listen, we're just getting started. We got plenty more headlines to get to next. Can I tell you something? I appreciate all of you. I really, really do. Thank you for coming. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Steve and the panel continue the discussion on race in America.
Would Ahmed have been arrested if he were white?
If he was white, I would react the same way. And I know one thing's for sure. If you and I were on a plane, Steve,
Crystal, it was a science project.
And
he wasn't on an airplane. He was at a school.
And later, how social media is changing the conversation on race.
I verbally attacked this person on Facebook using the N-word, and it's changed my life ever since.
We're back with a very special panel breaking down sensitivity to racial issues across America, so let's keep it going. All right, remember the Muslim teen who was arrested after making a clock out of a pencil case in school? Well, the boy, who is an aspiring engineer, was cuffed because officials said the clock could be a bomb. Well, the story got so much media attention, #IStandWithAhmed, trended worldwide, and President Obama invited the boy to the White House. Would Ahmed have been arrested if he were white? Crystal.
I think if Ahmad was white and he came into that schoolroom and had that crazy-looking clock, I would react the same way. And I know one thing's for sure. If you and I were on a plane, Steve, and Ahmad came out with that clock looking like that and wanted to show the stewardess that clock, guess what? I'd be like, let's roll. We got to take this guy down. We got to take this kid down. Come on. If you're in the airport, you would have 100 TSA agents on
It was a
that
science
kid.
project,
And
Crystal.
the clock
It was a science project, and he wasn't on an airplane. He was at a school.
And when Bill Maher put that clock next to the clocks that the suicide bombers use in real life to, like, blow up people, they look the same. So if I was a teacher, I'd be like, whoa, Ahmad. I wouldn't have handcuffed him, but I would have certainly reacted with a sense of urgency.
I think what is important is that the views that Crystal is sharing, that I think many of us don't agree with, many people do agree with. So we do have to address them. I think that in our country, sadly, we work and operate from a position of fear of people. This is a child bringing in a science project.
To a school.
To a school. This is not a kid on a plane. And I want to say this. I mean, my children, the science experiments that they make, I don't know what they look like, And so this is something that children do all the time. And I think we should expect more from our educators. These were teachers. I mean, my goodness. These are teachers that probably gave him the assignment.
And if that is where we're at in this country, then I'm
Chris,
terrified.
Chris,
Yeah.
what
I
do you
agree with
think?
everything Sonny just said, but also go back to that picture. Look at this kid. This kid's handcuffed. He weighs 37 pounds. The cop in the background is Diesel. How embarrassed do you think he is when they see a handcuffed little kid and he's just standing there flexing his triceps for the camera?
And he has a NASA shirt.
And he has
got
a
an
NASA shirt on like he's a diesel astronaut.
You know.
That's the bigger problem. I mean, why are you handcuffing children? That's the, I mean, it's like.
Yeah, I mean, really, that's
That's so
really.
stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
The
you don't even.
handcuffing of the
Why don't? Yeah, just you know what? There's no reason to handcuff him. If you thought he was out of line, just
Take that clock
slip him a little Tylenol PM. He'll be right to sleep. Okay? That's all you got to do.
Katie.
Well, I definitely disagree with what Sonny said in the sense that we have had teachers in the past who have had children come in who happen to be white, and they were heavily disciplined. They received 2-week suspensions, for example, for taking their Legos, and a 5-year-old took his Legos together and made a gun. A 5-year-old girl had a Hello Kitty bubble gum gun, and she just merely talked about it, and she was suspended. But those people didn't get tours of Google and Facebook and MIT. The president didn't invite them to the White House and give them a big hug. So there's a clear difference here. And
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but they were suspended. You know, that's a little bit different from arrested and handcuffed. I love suspensions. It's the arrest that kind of throw me off.
police immediately handed it back to the school as soon as they realized that this was actually a clock and not a bomb. So I don't think we can dwell on the arrest for so long.
You know, but like, here's a deeper problem. There are so many Muslims worldwide. When you start categorizing a whole
A faith
of people because of the actions of a few, even though all of those ISIS members are defectants of what the real faith is. The real faith of Muslim has nothing to do with terrorism.
Yes, these politicians are Barack Obama, as well as other politicians who are advising this young man and telling him, you can't talk about your visit with al-Bashir, even though he's wanted by the International Criminal Court. He's clearly being coached along the way by politicians who are using this again as a way to divide, to try to tell Muslim Americans that all other non-Muslim Americans dislike them, because then politicians have that power over both non-Muslims and Muslims to use us and to continue to buy votes.
Hey, folks, we're going to continue this conversation right after break. Stay with us.
Coming up next, the panel's conversation continues.
Should Trump's words be considered hate speech?
When you come across the border illegally, you are by definition a criminal.
I don't want to call it hate speech, but I do think it's bigotry. He's taken this page 6 tabloid type of politics and brought it to the mainstream.
Folks, I'm here with today's special panel, and we're tackling some recent racially controversial stories in the news. Donald Trump has been vocal on a lot of issues during his run for the White House, but maybe no issue has been more controversial than his talk on immigration. He's used words such as criminals and rapists to describe Latino immigrants. Should Trump's words be considered hate speech? Start with Sonny.
Wow. So I got that first question. You know, as a lawyer, I know that it doesn't legally qualify as hate speech, right? But as a human being, I think certainly the comments are hateful. I am Latino, I'm African American, and I call that sort of dog whistle politics. When I hear it, I'm like, oh, he's talking about me. And it's uncomfortable, and I think it's divisive. I mean, you want to talk about illegal immigration. I think we can all agree we're a nation of laws. We want to follow the law. We want other people to follow the law. But when you claiming that an entire group of people, all Mexicans are racist and all Mexicans are murderers, my goodness, how are you going to be the leader of our country?
Katie?
Well, I would say as a millennial that the reason why Donald Trump is doing better than all the other GOP candidates, including Jeb Bush, who supports a path to citizenship among the millennial generation and among women, is because they've grown up watching The Apprentice and they've seen that he's had many minorities on that show, and he's praised them and he's promoted them and helped advance their careers, not only within The Apprentice, but also within his real estate company. So I don't think that he's racist. I think that his statements have been taken out of context by the media, as Crystal was alluding to.
Okay, Bakari?
No, I just have to disagree. I don't think his statements were taken out of context at all. I think what Donald Trump has done is he's taken this page 6 tabloid type of politics and brought it to the mainstream. And I'm not necessarily certain what political tact he's taking by insulting one of the fastest growing populations in the entire country. Because, Steve, as you know, the country's getting browner. And I don't want to call it hate speech. It's not truth speech, but I do think it's bigotry. And we have to elevate the level of discussion. If we want to talk about comprehensive immigration and immigration reform, let's have that dialogue without denigrating a group of people.
Yeah. Chris?
I mean, great points, guys. I'm just a comedian, so selfishly, I just wanted to be president for the material. I feel like that's going to be gold. But when he said, you know, he's going to build the wall from Mexico to the U.S., I was like, doesn't he know Latino people have helicopters and planes? Haven't you seen Narcos? Okay? I mean, I laugh at it, but on a serious note, I mean, you know, you can't talk that way because that's, you know, to generalize anything, to anybody who generalizes anything, I think is a fool. So that's what he's doing. Yeah.
See, here's what I think. It's so hypocritical. Everybody hires illegal immigrants. Everybody. You get rid of illegal immigrants, I got news for you. You can get rid of a lot of industries. The farming industry goes down, the food, the restaurant business, the construction, it goes down if you get rid of them. So what we got to stop doing is quit saying we want to get rid of them when we the ones that's hiring them.
That's true. That's true. Well, when we enable them, we enable the problem.
I agree. All right. Hey, listen, a very special thanks to Katie, Crystal, Chris, Sonny, and Bakari. Catch Chris on IFC's Benders Thursday nights at 10. We'll be right back.
After the break, their racially charged comments changed their lives forever.
I verbally attacked this person on Facebook using the N-word, and it's changed my life ever since.
You both deserve a second chance, and that's why I have you on the show, because I think that someone has to speak up for people who make mistakes, because you can't be buried forever. Until recently, acts of racism were usually undocumented and private. Well, now with social media and camera phones, one comment can instantly blow up online. And it's what happened to my next guest. Each made a racially charged comment that forever changed their lives. Please welcome David and Rochelle. David, tell us what you did.
Thanks for having me on, Steve. Yeah. About 2 years ago, I was teaching. It was Halloween, and during this night, somebody came into my neighborhood and exposed himself and urinated on a telephone pole in front of my house and a bunch of children. I kind of lost it. I verbally attacked this person, regrettably, very regrettably, on Facebook using the N-word, and it's changed my life ever since.
Here's what David wrote. I don't mind if you come to my neighborhood from the ghetto to trick or treat, but when you piss in my front yard, you can take your ass back where it came from. Okay, David, so what happened next?
One of my former students took a screenshot, sent it to all the media in Cleveland. By the time I got to work the next morning, my principal said, turn in your keys, turn in your ID, and go home for your own safety. So I went home. My house was completely surrounded by television trucks. A friend of mine who was there, he was there with his mixed-race son, and he suggested to me, said, look, you're never going to have your life back. You got to let my kid take the blame for this. He can say this. You can't. And in my state of shock, I let him talk me into that. Since then, well, of course, my career ended. My daughter was bullied in school. Her grades dropped. We ended up trying homeschool for a while. She no longer gets to do music lessons or dance lessons or anything like that. I filed for bankruptcy this past summer, and it's basically been probably the 2 most miserable years of my life.
Okay, now let me hear both of these. Rochelle, you also wrote something in anger. What was it?
Yes, I did. I was working at Brookfield Zoo and concessions. On a stressful day at work, I was getting a lot of crowds, and they was all disrespectful, rude, mean, saying nasty things to me, throwing things at me, and I felt like I shouldn't have to deal with that. So at the end of my shift, I posted a post, and I know I shouldn't have did that, but it was out of frustration.
Here's what Rochelle wrote. What's up, y'all, at work serving these rude-ass white people? Rochelle, what happened after your post?
When I got home after work that day, my brother, he came screaming in the room like, "Oh my God, Rochelle, you all over Facebook." I checked, I was everywhere. That picture, that one particular picture had like 73 shares, and I was mostly on everybody's page. So that whole day, I was getting nasty inboxes, people telling me that I should die, I don't deserve to live. And even though that happened a couple of months ago, I still think about like, okay, what if I'm going for a job interview or even up for a promotion? It still can affect me in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Why do both of you, why do you think you deserve redemption?
We all are human. We all do things out of anger and without thinking. You know, I know what I did was more than inappropriate. I objectified this person with a very disparaging word. You know, we all make mistakes in our lives, but you know, I think at some point, you know, we all have to look at each other as human, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think we're all at some level worthy of some consideration and some forgiveness and a little bit of thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm.
I think I deserve redemption because I always look at myself as a nice person. I always did the right things in life, but it's just this particular day I did wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want it to haunt me for the rest of my life. I'm only 22 years old. I don't deserve to be bashed, and everywhere I go, everybody know me as the racist Brookfield Zoo girl. I want people to know me as Rochelle and who I am as an individual.
You both deserve a second chance, and that's why I have you on the show, because I think that someone has to speak up for people who make mistakes, because you can't be buried forever. But we got to look at the upside, too, for the two of you. There's a great opportunity for you. You can't work at the zoo no more.
I don't want to go back.
Right, but you ain't going to make no life down at the zoo.
Mm-mm.
So now this your chance to get to making another life. David, you deserve a second chance. You deserve to be forgiven.
Thank you.
You really, really do. You cannot take all that a person has done of good. This man been a teacher. He wasn't in class saying that. He said it on the blog for a dude that was pissing on the telephone pole, exposing himself to some kids. He'd have been in my front of my house. But now, David, here's your chance, because you got to reinvent yourself now, because you do have something to offer. You have made a major contribution to a lot of people's lives, and I believe that about you. So you can't let that go to waste because of 2 years ago. It's time to reinvent yourself. And so I would say, from my standpoint, not that you need it from me, but I put a stamp of forgiveness on you and say, you deserve another chance. You deserve another chance. You're 22, you shouldn't have, David, you deserve another chance. For all the good you've done, you both deserve another chance. I want to say thanks to David and Rochelle. There's another side to these stories. Sometimes these comments have a victim. We're going to hear from one of them when we come back. Thanks a lot. Everybody, you know, all hour we're talking about race, and before the break we heard from David and Rochelle, who are paying a heavy price for racially charged comments that they made online. I forgave him. You know, I wish more people would be in the forgiving business. If they all heard everything we said, none of us would be employed. But there's another side of these types of stories, too, the victims. My next guest was a victim of this post that recently went viral. Please welcome Sydney. Sydney, tell us what happened.
That's Caden. That's my son in the picture. I'm a single mother. You know, I work at a marketing group, and about a month ago, a now former coworker of mine posted that picture to Facebook with Caden in the background. And a few of his friends took it and started making a bunch of racial comments about it, and he then joined in. You know, I really don't understand why this happened to my son.
So what did they say?
There were a number, you know, there were a couple of references to slavery. People went as far as calling him Toby and Kunta Kinte and Sambo. One person asked, where the hell did you get a black kid? Somebody else said the black market. And then my coworker joined in referring to Caden as feral, which is pretty much calling him a wild animal.
Sydney's coworker was fired. We invited him to be here, but he declined. Sydney, what was your reaction to the Facebook post?
I was heartbroken. To see the things that these people were saying about a small child, and you know, it just happened to be my small child.
Yeah.
Caden is only 3, and you know, if you were to see him, you would fall immediately in love with him. He's just that type of kid,
Right.
and he doesn't understand what's going on. And I'm gonna have to explain it to him later down in life. And kids aren't taught racism. It's something that is the adults, they teach it to them because kids don't know that.
Yeah, kids aren't born racist.
Yeah,
they are taught racist. Yeah.
Exactly.
I got you. Something good came from this, though. What was that?
Yeah, after the story broke out, people all over the world have been showering Caden with all types of love and support. And, you know, because it outraged them, it made them angry. And right after I found out, which was a couple weeks after it had originally happened, a friend of mine created the hashtag, his name is Caden. And it's something that I appreciate because at first there was this kid and he was dehumanized. Nobody knew who this kid was. And the hashtag, his name is Caden, gave him back his name. It gave him back his humanity. It made him a person again and not just an animal.
Yeah. You know what, I see you emotional about this. You know, the thing about the internet that makes it so crazy is hate. Hate is louder than love, but love overcomes. Love always wins out in the end. What your friend did by hashtagging him, his name
is Caden.
That's love. Now, all of a sudden, there's whispering, but guess what? Now, globally, people have come from all around to support. The little haters, they gone.
Yeah.
Joel Osteen said it best. Haters' opinion of you is none of your business, nor should you make it yours. If you could just do that, take your little beautiful son, keep loving him, hugging him. When he's old enough, so he gonna ask you about it, you're gonna explain it to him, but you're gonna have loved him so much and inbred so much self-esteem in him, he'll just go, wow, that's crazy. And all them haters going nowhere, all right?
Okay.
Keep on. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Very nice. Folks, we'll be right back.
Next, Steve wraps up a powerful hour with a message of hope.
And if we all change, we can all be something. We can all be something better than we are if we are just only willing to change. Change and forgive. All right, everybody, we have time for just one more thing. I think we can all agree that there's been really an eye-opening hour for all of us. This has certainly opened my eyes to new perspectives, and I hope the same goes for everyone. But the question still remains, are we too sensitive? Did I expect this to solve racism today? No. Did I expect this to put a huge dent in it? No. I just wanted it to open up a discussion. That's all it is, and that's the only way we're ever gonna solve racism. See, until we start caring about one another and empathizing and sympathizing with a person that's different from us, none of this is ever gonna change. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood. The first time I had any real dealings with whites on a regular basis was at Kent State University, when I walked into a room and I had 3 white roommates. So 2 weeks later, after sharing space with these guys at room, I happened to be walking through the lobby. All 3 of my roommates were in line. I didn't know what the line was, so I walked up to them. I said, hey, man, what y'all doing? What y'all going, so what y'all signing up for? They kind of put their heads down, and then I saw the sign, room change. That kind of hurt me a little bit, because I went, damn, man, y'all just don't want to live with me? And then one of them, who's an attorney now, and he and I are friends to this day, he said, hey, man, I just don't know how to live with a black person. I said, well, probably gonna have to get used to it, because I think there's a lot of us here, and I think we're gonna be here for a while. And so then he said, hey, man, but can we still be friends? I said, for sure. I learned a valuable lesson from them guys, and I think they learned something from me. But you know what I did? I forgave them. I didn't even really understand forgiveness. I just knew that they didn't understand me, but it's okay. One of them said, man, unless you change, you ain't gonna ever be nothing. Because I was just so immersed in where I was from. Well, I hope he has a television set. Because I did change, and if we all change, we can all be something. We can all be something better than we are if we are just only willing to change. Change and forgive. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for being so honest and open during this very important discussion. We'll see you next time, folks.